Some of the world's largest cities were never meant to serve their native populations. Instead, they were designed for foreign rulers to control land, extract wealth, and reinforce imperial dominance. Over 100 major cities worldwide were planned and constructed by colonial powers, many of which remain economic and political hubs today. But how did these cities emerge? How were they planned? And how much of their colonial legacy still lingers? Today, we uncover the most significant cities built by colonial powers and the lasting impact they have had on the modern world. Before diving into specific cities, let's define what we mean by a colonial city. Colonialism involved powerful nations exerting control over foreign lands, often through military conquest, economic exploitation, and political dominance. These colonial powers needed administrative and trade centers, so they designed new cities rather than relying on existing indigenous settlements. For this video, we classify a colonial city using three criteria. First, it was planned and built primarily by colonial authorities. Second, it served as an administrative, military, or trade hub for the empire. And third, it incorporated European-style urban planning, including grid layouts, segregated districts, and monumental government structures. Now let's explore some of the most historically significant cities that fit this definition. Number 1. New Delhi, India. In 1911, the British colonial government decided to move India's capital from Calcutta to New Delhi, aiming to create a symbol of British power. Designed by Sir Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker, New Delhi was built with wide boulevards, European-style government buildings, and geometric road patterns. It was intended to be a monument to British authority, segregating colonial rulers from the native Indian population. Post-independence, New Delhi remained India's capital, and today it is one of the world's largest metropolitan areas, with a booming economy and a blend of colonial and modernist architecture. Number 2. Jakarta, Indonesia. Originally named Batavia, Jakarta was founded in 1619 by the Dutch East India Company. The Dutch meticulously planned the city with Amsterdam-style canals, aiming to facilitate trade and military defense. However, these canals became disease-ridden, leading to devastating malaria outbreaks in the 18th and 19th centuries. Post-independence, Jakarta grew to Indonesia's economic powerhouse, but colonial infrastructure contributed to its severe flooding problems, as many canals were poorly maintained or repurposed for informal housing. Number 3. Hanoi, Vietnam. Under French rule from 1887 to 1954, Hanoi was transformed into the administrative capital of French Indochina. The French introduced boulevards mimicking Paris, such as the iconic 30th Street, European-style villas and government buildings, zoning policies, and segregated French officials and Vietnamese locals. Today, Hanoi still showcases its French colonial heritage, particularly in the Old Quarter, blending Vietnamese traditions with French-influenced urban design. Number 4. Nairobi, Kenya. The British founded Nairobi in 1899 as a railway hub for the Uganda Railway, but it quickly evolved to British East Africa's colonial capital. The city was designed with rigid racial segregation, ensuring that Europeans occupied the best areas, while Africans and South Asians were pushed into underdeveloped districts. Even today, inequalities in Nairobi's urban landscape trace back to its colonial foundations. The city remains a major financial and diplomatic hub, but issues like poor infrastructure, wealth disparity, and informal settlements are remnants of British planning policies. 5. Manila, Philippines. Manila was initially shaped by the Spanish from 1571 to 1898 with its Intramuros district built as a walled city to protect against invasions. After the US took control in 1898, American planners, including Daniel Burnham, redesigned Manila with a grand waterfront boulevard, Rojas Boulevard, modernized road networks inspired by Washington, D.C., and public parks and new zoning laws. Today, Manila is a complex mix of Spanish, American, and modern influences, reflecting its long colonial history. 6. Brasilia, Brazil. While not a direct colonial city, Brasilia reflects Portuguese colonial urban planning concepts: centralized power, controlled expansion, and grand symbolic architecture. Designed by Lucia Costa and Oscar Niemeyer, Brasilia was built entirely from scratch in just 4 years, replacing Rio de Janeiro as Brazil's capital. However, its strict zoning policies led to inequality, with elite government officials living in prime areas while the majority commuted from distant satellite towns. Colonial cities were not just places of governance, they were built as instruments of control, designed for economic extraction, racial segregation, and political dominance. Many of these cities have since evolved, but their colonial era foundations still shape modern urban challenges. New Delhi's grand avenues still serve as India's political core. Jakarta's canals remain a flood-prone legacy of Dutch planning. Nairobi's zoning policies continue to affect housing inequality. Manila's American-built roads define its urban layout even today. The legacy of colonial planning is still deeply embedded in these cities, often contributing to modern issues like traffic congestion, social inequality, and outdated infrastructure. While many have modernized, the shadows of colonialism still linger. Would you like to see how post-colonial cities have modernized their urban planning? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more urban history content.